Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Picture the smartphone sitting next to you right now. Like
Oh,
every single app, every red notification badge, it was all meticulously designed by teams of behavioral psychologists.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, their entire job, 40 hours a week, is basically just to hijack your attention.
Right. And yet when the modern professional, feel completely overwhelmed by this constant digital barrage, the most common advice you hear is to just, download one more productivity app to fix it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's a comforting illusion, right? We just want a quick fix.
Exactly. We expect this clean binary solution, like you install the software and you magically assume your attention span is cured.
Right, but we're heavily conditioned to believe that a shiny new dashboard, perfectly color-coded and categorized on our home screen, will somehow do the heavy cognitive lifting for us.
Yeah, like the app is going to do the work.
Exactly. But the software is just a container. If you lack the fundamental architecture to direct your focus, that new tool just becomes, another inbox demanding your time.
And that brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We're looking at how you can realistically conquer information overload and the fast-paced demands of the current business landscape.
Which is so critical right now.
It really is. And spoiler alert, the answer is not grinding out 13-hour workdays. It's really about mastering this highly practical, surprisingly misunderstood superpower, which is self-discipline.
Yeah, and we have a really remarkable text guiding our analysis today.
We do. We're pulling apart this very comprehensive resource from Felix Römer over at smartkeys.org. It's titled Building Self-Discipline, Consistency Tips for Staying Productive.
It's a great piece.
It is. We're treating this as a foundational blueprint for any professional looking to fundamentally boost their business efficiency.
And honestly, the timing of this article's relevance, it could not be better. When you look at the business landscape today, we operate in this ecosystem of just, relentless connectivity.
Always on, yeah.
Right. There's this baseline expectation that you are always reachable. And what Römer's text establishes immediately is a total redefinition of discipline itself.
Because we usually think of it as a bad thing, right? Like
Yeah.
punishment.
Exactly. We associate it with punishment or this rigid, joyless existence. But the text argues the complete opposite. Discipline is simply the repeatable mechanical bridge between defining your goals and actually executing them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And when you master that bridge, your team can finally rely on your timelines. You become a stable node in a chaotic network. And, that stability is what drives real success without the burnout.
But before we even look at how to structure a calendar or anything,
Right.
the text insists we have to build a mental framing that allows any of these productivity systems to function.
Right. The foundation.
Yeah, and Romer blends this ancient philosophy with modern leadership principles, which I loved. He pulls in Plato, who argued thousands of years ago that the first and most important victory is to conquer yourself. And then he brings in Marcus Aurelius, reminding us that we only have true power over our own minds, never over outside events.
And then he connects it to today.
Exactly, drawing a direct line to contemporary figures like Jocko Willink and his famous mantra, discipline equals freedom.
What's fascinating here is the core behavioral shift the author is demanding of the reader. It is fundamentally about eliminating the internal negotiation process.
Like arguing with yourself.
Yes, exactly. The text frames it as a conscious choice. You have to choose what you want most over what you want now.
Oh, wow. What you want most over what you want now.
Right. In any given moment, when you're staring at a difficult task, your brain will flood you with these tiny, rational-sounding reasons to delay.
Like, oh, I should check my email just in case.
Or I really need to reorganize my desk before I start.
Guilty. I do that all the time.
We all do. But Römer suggests replacing that scattered internal debate with one overarching filter, which is, will this specific action move my highest goals forward? And if the answer is no, you just pause.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because telling someone to just stop negotiating with themselves sounds like a demand for, endless willpower.
It does sound exhausting.
Right, so think of your daily willpower not as a moral failing if you lose it, but as the CPU on your computer or the battery on your smartphone.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah. Every time you debate a small choice, like whether to start the quarterly report or answer a Slack message, you're running a background application. Even if you ultimately choose the report, the friction of the debate consumes a percentage of your cognitive battery.
That is a very precise way to look at executive function.
By lunchtime, you have 50 mental tabs open, your CPU is thermal throttling, and you haven't produced any deep work.
Because every decision literally burns glucose in the brain. So the text introduces this decide once rule to combat that exact cognitive drain.
How does that work in practice?
Well, if you commit to writing your marketing copy every weekday at 8:00 a.m., you've essentially enabled a battery saver mode for your brain. You make the action non-negotiable ahead of time.
So you don't even think about it.
Exactly. When 8:00 a.m. rolls around, you don't evaluate your mood. You don't ask if you feel inspired. You simply execute the pre-written code. You bypass the decision-making center entirely.
But even with the decide once rule, willpower is still finite. Like, if you know you're supposed to be writing at 8 a.m., but your phone is sitting face up on the desk flashing with group chat notifications, your CPU is still quietly burning energy, just trying to ignore it.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to look at the physical environment. We can't just rely on mental calluses to get us through the day.
No, you cannot outthink a hostile environment. Relying purely on mental toughness to ignore a buzzing phone is a losing mathematical game. Your brain's novelty-seeking mechanisms will eventually overpower your prefrontal cortex.
So the text outlines this brutal, out-of-sight, out-of-mind approach to environment design to solve this.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive.
It is. It means actively removing tempting applications from your home screen entirely, not just tucking them into a folder, and setting Do Not Disturb as your default operating state on your devices rather than an exception.
It even goes beyond the digital realm, too.
Right, suggesting you physically remove junk food from your workspace. The whole goal is to make the productive choice the path of least resistance.
While making the distracting choice require multiple annoying physical steps.
Exactly.
And that environmental lockdown is then paired with biological energy management. The text advises spending a week actively tracking your natural focus windows.
Like figuring out when you're naturally most alert.
Right. We all have circadian rhythms that dictate our cognitive peaks and valleys. Once you map yours, you structure your workday around it.
Makes sense.
You block your most demanding, analytically heavy tasks during those peak energy spikes. And conversely, you reserve your administrative work, answering emails, or data entry for the natural dips in your energy. You're aligning your heavy lifting with the moments your biological battery is at 100%.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because an optimized environment and biological alignment sound great in a vacuum. But let's pressure test this against reality.
Okay, let's do it.
If I lock down my phone, clear my desk, and go into a default Do Not Disturb mode for 3 hours during my peak energy window, am I not completely alienating my team?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah. In a dynamic, modern business landscape, collaboration is constant. If my boss slacks me with a genuine, time-sensitive crisis, going totally off the grid could literally get me fired. So how does the text reconcile this extreme focus with the reality of being a reachable employee?
Well, that tension between deep work and responsiveness is really the defining struggle of the modern professional. But the text doesn't advocate for becoming a totally isolated hermit.
Okay, good.
Instead, it introduces implementation intentions, which are more commonly known in behavioral psychology as if-then plans.
Like writing a series of conditional algorithms for your own behavior.
Fundamentally, yes. You're anticipating the friction before it happens. So if you're worried about genuine emergencies versus perceived ones, you build an if-then protocol for triage.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Your plan might be, if a colleague pings me with a request during my focus block, I will take 10 seconds to evaluate if it impacts revenue or safety today. If not, then I will reply with an automated message saying I am in a deep work sprint and will review their request at 11:30 a.m.
Oh, I love that.
Right. You are creating predictable, pre-planned neurological pathways. When the environment gets chaotic, you don't panic or give up your focus block. You just run the pre-written algorithm.
Okay, so the environment is locked down. You know your energy peaks. You have your if-then protocols programmed for interruptions.
You've systematically removed the excuses.
Right. But if you're listening to this right now, you probably know the feeling of looking at a massive multi-month project, having all your systems perfectly aligned, and still experiencing total paralysis.
The inertia of the blank page.
Yes, it's still there. So how does the article suggest we force ourselves across the threshold from, like, preparing to work to actually typing the first word?
That transition requires shifting into micro-productivity. The text heavily emphasizes starting incredibly small.
How small?
Well, if you look at a massive project, your amygdala, the fear center of the brain, perceives that workload as a threat. It triggers a stress response, which usually manifests as procrastination.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So to bypass that threat response, you make the commitment so small it feels harmless. You commit to 5 minutes of work or literally just drafting the title of the document.
The article pairs this micro-commitment with a concept called anchoring, which I found to be a brilliant hack for the basal ganglia where our habits live.
It's so effective.
Instead of trying to construct a brand new habit out of thin air, you attach the new tiny step to an existing, deeply ingrained daily cue. You say, the moment I set my morning coffee mug down on the desk, I will write one single sentence of the report. You're piggybacking on a neurological pathway that is already paved.
Because anchoring utilizes the principle of habit stacking.
Right.
Since the trigger drinking coffee is already automatic, the new behavior requires significantly less activation energy. The cue is already baked into your lifestyle.
And when it comes to generating that activation energy, the article details one specific tactic for dealing with distraction that, honestly, completely shifts the paradigm. It's called the right or nothing rule.
This is a tough one, but it works.
It's intense. You set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes, and you give yourself a strict binary choice. You either engage with the chosen task, or you sit completely still and do absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
Right. You cannot check your phone. You cannot doodle. You cannot organize your desktop folders. You work, or you sit in silence and observe your own mind.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of behavioral science, the mechanism at play here is called urge surfing.
Urge surfing.
Yeah. When you separate a modern professional from their digital distractions, their brain experiences a mild form of dopamine withdrawal.
Wow.
It sends out a panic signal, which feels like an intense physical itch to check a screen. The author suggests preceding this exercise with 2 minutes of box breathing.
Why box breathing?
Because it specifically downregulates the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response.
Okay, so by sitting still and breathing through it, you're proving to your nervous system that the urge to procrastinate won't actually kill you.
Precisely the opposite of fighting it, you're letting the wave crash. By forcing that binary choice, you quickly realize that the desperate urge to check your inbox is just a temporary chemical signal.
It's just a feeling.
Exactly, it's a feeling. It's not an authoritative order that you're required to obey. You can name the urge, recognize it as a symptom of dopamine anticipation, and simply let it fade away.
That reframing changes everything. When you realize the distraction is just a temporary chemical spike and not a genuine need, it completely loses its power.
And the text builds on this realization by treating willpower exactly like a physical muscle through a process called interval training.
Like at the gym.
Exactly. You'd never walk into a gym and try to deadlift 400 pounds on your first day. Similarly, you shouldn't sit down and try to execute 4 straight hours of deep, uninterrupted focus.
Right.
You start with 10 minutes of intense focus, followed by a mandatory 5-minute break.
I think the mandatory break is the secret sauce there.
It absolutely is. That 5-minute break allows the cognitive load to reset, preventing amygdala fatigue. As your neurological stamina improves over weeks, you gently ramp the intervals up to 12 or 15 minutes, eventually working your way up to a standard 25-minute Pomodoro sprint.
So you're creating micro tears in your focus muscle and letting them heal.
Yeah.
Building genuine stamina over time without risking the burnout that comes from those heroic, uncalculated sprints. But let's look at the horizon line. Interval training gets you through a difficult Tuesday morning. Habit stacking gets you through the month. But how do you keep this engine running for 5 years?
That's the real challenge.
Because motivation is inherently fickle. You can have all the box breathing techniques in the world, but if you don't have a deeper anchor, the consistency will eventually crumble.
It raises an essential question about the nature of our drive. The text addresses this by looking at what it calls the self-inflicted pain loop of procrastination.
Oh, I know that loop well.
We all do. You know the cycle, you know you should be working, you avoid it, you feel a deep sense of guilt. The guilt drains your energy, and that lower energy makes you want to work even less.
It's a total downward spiral fueled entirely by self-judgment.
Exactly.
So to break that specific loop, the article suggests shifting your focus entirely away from your own ego. When a task is just about your personal ambition or proving your own worth, the stakes feel paralyzing.
Because any failure is an indictment of your character. To neutralize that ego threat, the text advises writing a single sentence why that explicitly links your daily mundane tasks to serving others.
Like the team.
Maybe it's serving your immediate team, providing for your family, or delivering value to your client base. From a neurological standpoint, pro-social motivation, doing things for the benefit of the tribe, triggers different, more sustainable neurotransmitters than purely selfish ambition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it literally lowers the cortisol and anxiety associated with the work.
When the goal is positioned as a service to others, it ceases to be this terrifying test of your personal adequacy. It just becomes a steady, reliable commitment to the people relying on you.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
The text operationalizes this beautifully by recommending you end every single morning routine with one simple question. What is the most important thing I can do today that serves that deeper purpose?
I love that.
It forces you to align your calendar with your actual values before the inbox can dictate your priorities.
And to permanently cement that alignment, the system requires external accountability.
Right.
The article advises recruiting a mentor or a respected peer for blunt, unvarnished feedback. Furthermore, it suggests publicly sharing your weekly action plans with your team.
Which creates a social contract.
Exactly. When your workflow is transparent, your failure to execute doesn't just let you down, it creates a bottleneck for your colleagues. That social pressure is a highly effective tool for maintaining discipline when internal motivation wanes.
It's taking the abstract concept of integrity and giving it a structural framework. The article also pushes for intense internal tracking to match that external accountability.
Right, the data side of it.
Yeah, it suggests logging your focus minutes in an action tracker, but more importantly, logging one specific learning or bottleneck per session.
That tracking is vital because it separates perception from reality. You might feel like you had an unproductive week, but the data might show you completed 20 intervals of deep work.
Which is actually great.
It is. It allows you to conduct an objective weekly review. You look at the data and ask, what worked? Where did my focus break? Which of my if-then algorithms failed and needs to be rewritten?
So it turns personal discipline into a measurable business metric that can actively inform management decisions.
Exactly.
I think the most relieving takeaway from this entire deep dive into Felix Römer's work is the demystification of discipline. We started this conversation talking about the illusion of shiny new apps.
Right.
What this text proves is that self-discipline is not some rare genetic trait bestowed upon a lucky few CEOs.
Yeah.
It's not an inherent personality type. It is a mechanical, practical, and highly repeatable system.
And small, mathematically steady systems will fundamentally always defeat sporadic, heroic sprints of effort.
Always.
Over a long enough timeline, consistency compounds. And the text leaves us with an incredibly accessible daily ritual to ensure that compounding happens. At the absolute end of your workday, before you close your laptop, you name one specific small win from the day, and you write down one exact, microscopic step to begin the next morning.
It effectively acts as a bookmark for your brain. You close the loop on today, and you completely eliminate the friction of figuring out where to start tomorrow.
It is the ultimate antidote to the cognitive drain we discussed. You're no longer relying on the container, the software, the calendar, the app. You're relying on a finely tuned, personalized architecture of behavior.
Which brings us to you listening to this right now. We've covered a vast amount of psychological ground, from Plato to interval training to biological energy mapping. But I want to leave you with a singular provocative thought to mull over.
I like where this is going.
I want you to think about the specific self-inflicted pain that procrastination is causing in your work life at this exact moment. What project is hanging over your head, draining your CPU in the background, making you feel guilty when you're trying to relax?
We all have one.
Name it. Feel the actual weight of it. Now, look at tomorrow morning. What is the absolute smallest 5-minute, almost embarrassingly tiny habit you could execute to start making that pain disappear?
Just 5 minutes.
Don't plan to finish the project. Just find the 5-minute action. Decide what it is right now and anchor it to a habit you already have, like turning on your computer monitor.
That's how it starts.
Thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. If you are serious about conquering information overload and you want a continuous stream of strategic insights regarding the future of work and business efficiency, make sure you hit subscribe on the show.
Definitely.
And I highly encourage you to go read Felix Römer's full article. We only scratched the surface of the systems he lays out. You can find the direct link to the text right in the show notes.
The digital tools will always be shiny, but your behavioral systems are what actually get the work done.
See you next time.